Where do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab.
Oh, you know we need them. Yeah, we do. We need those strategies. Strategies for living, that is. Are you ready? Ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Wait a minute. Are we in a pattern?
You notice that I say that every day, right?
Yeah, it seems to be a pattern.
Okay, I hold that thought. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian, and she is psychotherapist, licensed professional counselor, Lauren Leon McMillian. So, funny you should mention patterns.
Yeah.
You know, I when I was thinking about the title of today's program, I came up with All God's Children Got Patterns.
Oh, yeah.
All God's children got
Sure.
patterns.
As
Know
long as we're human.
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, all God's children got patterns. Know yours. How many of us are completely oblivious, Lauren, to the fact that that patterns oftentimes are really what run our lives? We think we run them,
Right.
but actually, once you see what we're going to talk about today, many people will recognize and see, oh, wait a minute.
My pattern's running me.
The patterns run in me, and a lot of the patterns we get from, guess where?
From childhood.
Other people.
Yeah.
They get downloaded into us, and we just repeat them. Some of us for an entire lifetime,
Right.
you know, and we never question them. But here's the good news that we're going to talk about
You're not
today.
your patterns.
You are not. That's great news. And the other piece of good news is that there's a way out. And we're going to talk about that
Well, there's a way
today.
to change the patterns,
There's
right? There's a way to recognize what
Most
yours
definitely.
are and to change them and to know that you are not your patterns.
Most definitely, I could not have said it better myself.
Well,
All God's children got patterns. We're going to talk about patterns today. It's important that we know what our patterns are. Folks, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you joining with us today here on Strategies for Living. And we appreciate our sponsors who make it possible, the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing.
oh, it's early.
At the Balanced Life Wellness Center. You almost get into a pattern there, but you messed up. Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Muffies. SRT Sales Training. Uprising Addiction Center. And Mira Direct Primary Care. All God's children got patterns. We need to know ours. That's today here on Strategies for Living. And welcome into Strategies for Living Radio. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, all God's children got patterns. You got patterns, I got patterns, all God's children got patterns.
We all do. That's right.
So let's start with, okay, and we've already said, those patterns are going to run you until you see them.
Right.
So let's get real crystal clear on what a pattern is, and then
Okay.
we'll jump in.
Sounds good.
So all a pattern is a repeating sequence of perception, emotion, and behavior that runs without your permission.
Right. So
It was installed. In fact, a lot of the patterns that are installed were very useful,
Sure.
at one point in our lives, but it keeps running,
Yeah. So I had to, as I often do, look up the etymology of pattern.
Somehow I
Did
knew
you know
that would
that
be
was
a pattern that would
was that a
would
repeat
repeat
itself?
this program. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm following
Predictable.
my pattern.
Yes, you are.
And pattern comes from patron,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Which means, of course, like a lord master, but it also means one who protects, supports,
Okay.
a defender or protector,
All right.
which is exactly what our patterns, our psychological patterns of behavior are meant to do, right? And if we think about it from a biological standpoint, we're always going to find the most effective way to do anything on a
Right.
biological level, right?
Right.
And
right.
so when we're coming into the world and we're infiltrated, right, with all of these new sensations and ideas, and we try to take in all. We're pattern seekers,
Right.
So we try to take.
Yeah,
in,
we're looking on an unconscious basis
Right.
anyway. We're looking for the pattern neurologically,
right,
and that just kind of works out of our normal consciousness.
and it's a normal, healthy thing to do.
Sure.
Biologically and psychologically, right?
Sure.
Because if you think about it, it saves us time and energy.
That's
the idea.
An extreme case just came to my
Okay.
mind. Okay,
What's
this
that?
is silly, but when I was a kid, my parents, just absolutely pounded into me the importance of looking both ways before I crossed the street.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
the street where I grew up on, McCormick and Ogilvy and Bossier, they weren't great big streets with a lot of traffic,
Yeah.
but they were big to me,
Sure.
right?
Right.
And also what was big to me was that my parents were godlike figures,
Right.
as all parents are.
Yes.
And so, in the beginning, the word, you listen to the word, right?
Right. And
So-
and
so-
their role is to protect you. And so if they're
Right.
saying you need to do this to protect yourself, whoa.
Yeah, several years later, I was back. I had occasion to be back on the corner of, and you may have been with me,
Mm-hmm.
and it hit me just how small the street is. It didn't look, small back then.
Sure.
All right. And what ran through my mind is, that if I had been watching, and, I know this is kind of a bizarre example, but if I had been watching and a child did not look both ways and boom, was hit by a car or two, that would form a pattern in and of itself in my mind.
Sure. Yeah.
Don't do that
Mm-hmm.
without looking, or you might get run over. Now, I know that's an extreme example, and I'm being a little
Right.
facetious here. I hope nobody, thinks I want any child to be harmed. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But that's often how they're originally formed, right?
Yeah.
Because we come into the world helpless and dependent upon whether it's our parents or teachers, but
Somebody bigger
bigger,
and stronger people than
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
people. And so, it becomes a problem then also, and more complicated and complex for some people, when perhaps the older, bigger people aren't as emotionally mature, or, they become people that we fear or need to step around emotionally as well. Because
But,
then,
and those things we can't know
no,
from
of
that
course not.
point of view of a
All we know
1-year-old
is-
or a 3-year-old or
Right.
whatever.
All we know is that this person is here to love me and to take care of me.
We hope.
And
yeah.
and so in order to get that love and care, I've got to do whatever it takes
Right.
to get that.
Right. And so I hope, we're beginning to understand as we hear this, that we're beginning to understand how important patterns are in our life, and actually how much they actually run our lives. We're going to talk about some common patterns today,
Yeah.
but we're only going to talk about some. We'll leave it to people to expand
And
from where we're going to start today. But if it's almost the number of patterns that are in our lives. Once you see it,
They're innumerable.
They go on and on and on. And the more, a lot of times, Lauren, we talk about doing the work, right?
Mhm. This is the work.
And this is the work.
This is the work.
This is
This
a
is
lot of the
lifetime's
work. It's recognizing what runs your life other than you, and then once you're able to see that, now, we're around the time that we celebrate freedom in America, and freedom is important.
What is true freedom?
What is true freedom? And many of us say we're free, but we're really not living totally free.
Yeah. As long as there's some unconscious part of me,
then you're not free.
That's
running
that I'm
things.
changed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so before we go too much farther, I think it's important that we break down to exactly the parts of a pattern, right?
Okay.
So often what happens is there's a trigger.
Yep.
Right? And then there's some kind of unconscious or automatic interpretation or thought that comes almost immediately after the trigger.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And then this is usually coupled within the emotional reaction, whatever happens physiologically in the body.
Yep.
And then there's often some behavior that follows.
Okay.
So we can break it down into those ideas.
Right.
What a pattern can be.
Right.
Sort of dissected into. Right?
Yeah.
And we can use that then to, one, recognize, okay, well, what is my trigger? And then what does that trigger in me? Thought, bodily sensation, and then behavior. And then,
and what messages did I get?
Yeah, right.
That the
Where
message,
did this come from?
They can be beliefs. We can label these messages, beliefs, stories. We are the ego.
Mm-hmm.
The ego mind is absolutely packed full of these.
Yeah.
And they run us until we see that they're there and are able to dissect one by one. And if we want to, I don't want anybody to hear that, that I need to change every pattern that I was ever given, because again,
that would be near impossible.
Well,
I think,
it
with
would,
the amount.
but it would also be improbable and unhealthy. Even at 69 years old, when I go to cross a street, I need to look both ways.
Yeah, that's not a bad.
It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad program to have.
Not a bad program.
Yeah.
It was installed, and it works pretty well. Now there may be some others that I was given by my parents, like what to be afraid of, let's say.
Yeah.
That really didn't work very well in my adult life until I really looked at it.
I would say, I would probably argue that they worked really well in your childhood, which
Absolutely.
is why
Sure.
they've continued, they've persisted.
Sure.
But then, oftentimes we run into an adulthood, whoa, this is really, really not helping and even hurting me
Right.
Now. And you mentioned ego, and I think it's important that we kind of stop there for a minute, because I think so many people nowadays see the ego as something evil or bad, or that we need to get rid of.
It's an important vehicle through which we navigate life.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a vital lens, and if we recognize that it is the lens, it's almost I'm thinking almost like a scuba gear lens, right? Okay, because you need that to be able to see and breathe underwater in this environment we're in.
Right.
But if you've got a bunch of gunk over it, and if you don't have enough oxygen, that's going to cause you problems.
And, it's appropriate to wear that underwater, but you wouldn't want to be walking around Shreveport, Bossier downtown, navigating with a scuba mask on.
Well,
maybe some people would. Yeah.
But I was using that analogy for physical reality.
Okay.
That you need the scuba, you need the ego to be here in physical reality.
Sure.
So in that sense, you would need it to walk around anywhere in physical reality.
Okay.
But I get your point.
You get my
too.
point. Yeah.
I also think, though, this is what the greats were talking about. We often hear biblically, right, that you need to empty yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what they were talking about.
Yeah, this is part of emptying.
Yeah, it's to be able to take inventory of who it is that I say that I am.
Right.
Right. And part of that is your programming.
Yeah.
And so that becomes who you are.
I was interesting because I was in a conversation earlier today with a client, and the Bible came up, and one of the things that the question, the way I answered the question that was he put to me was, well, you've got to look at where in the Bible this is, who was the writer and who was being written to. For instance, there is a place in the Bible that says it's okay for fathers to sell their daughters into slavery.
Right.
Okay. And no one,
where's the context
no
there?
one would agree today. No sane person would agree today that that's okay. And yet it's there.
Sure.
It's in the Bible.
There's lots of stuff.
And so, we can't change the black and white, what's there. But you can put it into the context of the day and who was being written to and why it was being written. And with every book of the Bible, it's important to kind of go through and do that.
Sure.
We're talking patterns today. All God's children have them. All God's children got patterns. We need to know ours. When we come back, we're going to talk about some common ones, some real common ones. And we're also going to talk about how to know it's a pattern definitively. And we're going to talk about how to get out.
Get me out of here.
Get me out of here. We'll talk about all of that today on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you want a hard getaway. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Well, that guy's looking for strategies. We're looking for patterns.
He's looking for strategies.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Hey, folks, welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren, Leon, McMillian, David McMillian. Talking about patterns today. All God's children got patterns. Do we really understand what our patterns are? And if we don't understand it, we might just be being run by those patterns. The great news is once we see it, once we understand it, now the control shifts from somebody else to us. And we can, once we know what a pattern is and the ones we've got, then we can do something about it. Okay, so let's spend a little time this segment, Lauren, talking about the most common patterns, okay? Let me run down the list, and then we'll come and take them each apart, okay?
Okay.
Now, I said this before. It's important to repeat this. These are common ones, but there's innumerable patterns. These are just thought starters for you, for all of us. Because once I understand what's going on, then I can begin to see and I can begin to take apart where I got it, how I got that group of messages or beliefs or stories that are installed. And once I see it, then I've got total freedom. I can decide, yeah, that one works for me. This one, not so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
All right. So some common patterns: the pleaser, the controller, the avoider, the performer, the defender. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna spend a little time on each one of these and take them apart.
Okay.
But I mean, my hope is that, by using, these are rather common ones, but by bringing forth the common ones, it makes it easy for us, each one of us individually, to say, "Oh my goodness, well, yeah, I've got that one, but I also have this one, this one, this one."
Right, right. Like you said, these are common, but we can all have very unique, specific patterns. And the way to find those is to follow your triggers.
Yeah.
Right. So anytime
realize that we all have just like all God's children got patterns. All God's children get triggered.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anytime you have an emotional response that seems out of out of
Context of the
thank you,
yeah.
for what's happening in front of you or within you, that's a little your little alert button to say, there's a trigger, and so what's the underlying pattern there?
Right. All right. So the pleaser. I mean, a lot of us either understand the pleaser because we are one, or we know one.
Sure.
We know somebody in our life that totally fits into this, pattern. So the pleaser is going to say yes when I really want to say no. So I end up saying, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll take that on. I mean, so it's like
I struggle to say no.
Yeah, my mind might be thinking no, but I go, yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so,
or you might even have it so strong that you have the immediate yes, and then kind of, why did I say yes?
Yeah, why in the heck did I say yes to that? And what's wrong with me? And then I get mad at myself. I get mad at whoever asked me to do it.
Right.
And,
so what you're talking about is the hidden cost of that pattern.
Right.
Right. Which is resentment.
Resentment, burnout. I mean, a lot of people burn out. I'm not saying this is 100% of the reason people burn out, but a lot of pleasers have a lot of burnout. Why? Because they're saying yes to everything. They're not discriminating, yes, I want to do this. Yes, I can do this. No, this really isn't in my wheelhouse.
Right.
Or somebody else in this organization or church or group or whatever, our household, family, would be better at taking this particular task on. Right?
Yeah. And so at the core of this pattern is the idea that if I can keep everybody happy, then I'll be safe.
Yeah.
Right? And so this often develops either in childhood or in some other relationship or home life where you feel like you have to please, you have to keep everybody else happy so that you're safe.
Right.
And what that often comes at the cost is not only what we already mentioned, resentment, but also you lose your sense of identity. Right? Because you're saying yes and agreeing to doing and being things that aren't in alignment with who you are.
Right.
And if this happens early on, what this means is that you might not have gained that sense of identity because you were from the very beginning dismissing who and what you were in order to please or to make your parents or grandparents or teachers happy.
And again, I want to make sure, I've said a variation of this before today, but I want to make sure everybody understands this is by no means saying everything that you got taught needs to be thrown out.
No, right.
It means
let's look at it.
Let's look at it. Let's question it. Let's examine it. I was teaching a Sunday school class many, many, many years ago. And as I recall, the young people that I was teaching were around the seventh or eighth grade level, the middle school, junior high. Yeah. And it was a big class. And one of the young men raised his hand and ask a question of, well, why do we believe that? And then stated, I don't think I believe that. I don't think that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that and we talked about it, he and the class, and we dialogued about that.
Yeah.
Because it was perfect.
Sure.
Now, after the class, I thought about, I probably need to let one of his parents know that this came up so that maybe it could be continued in the home, that we can talk about this.
Yeah.
You probably know where this is going to end.
That was not
did. It did not end well.
That was not
the
going
young
to be
man.
a
The young man
dialogue.
was never allowed to come back to Sunday school with me. All right. So, all right, fine.
Yeah.
This has been so many years ago. I can fast forward and I can say definitively and for sure that young man is not in any church today that I know of.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
It is. It is, because I think it's important and vital. That's part of our spirituality, is to question, is to find.
It's also part of our human identity,
Yes.
being 7th and 8th graders.
Absolutely.
It's
it's normal growth and development at that stage.
Sure. So again, so I guess there's no no accidents.
But that's kind of a pattern, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Right? In terms of, we have to, it's a fear of, if you don't believe this,
Then you're going straight to hell.
Right.
Or if
Or
you
something.
question this, you may even go to hell.
Right.
All right. So no coincidence that the next pattern is the controller.
Yeah.
And it it sounds, I know it's going to sound like, well, I've got a problem with that parent, and I don't. I mean, I truly don't. I wish the family well. They've done many good things. It just,
It's a very normal, typical response, actually.
It is. And again, the parent who made this, parents who made this choice or decision may have been in their own patterns, but a pattern of the controller has to manage everything and trust no one.
Yep.
And exhaust themselves. And why would they be exhausted? Well, if you have to answer everything, if you have to be right all the time,
and you have to plan everything,
if you have to
overthink everything in order.
Can you imagine the energy level?
That's a lot.
That comes into play if you are in the pattern of being a controller.
Something that also comes to mind, and we can talk as we go through these, because it's probably true of all of them, is that I think at the base of most patterns is also a fear that we can identify.
Yeah.
Right? Because the pattern of thinking, emoting, and behaving is going to arise as a way to protect against something, which indicates that there's a fear underneath.
Right.
Right? And so the fear under control is, I'm afraid of uncertainty.
Right.
I'm afraid to be vulnerable.
Right.
Or I'm afraid of the chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
And think about what a setup that is, because we live in a world.
Only thing you can count on.
The only thing you can count on is that the world will change, that things will change. And so, I mean, again, do you see the energy problem with someone who is we'll talk about this some more, but how do I know that something is a pattern? Well, if I'm willing to look, I can and be honest with myself. I can see I've done this before or something like it. I do it automatically. There's probably going to be some regret afterwards. And only strong people will admit to that.
Okay.
You got to be strong enough to really admit to that.
I would say not all patterns, because some patterns are actually prove out to be good and healthy and helpful for you, right?
Sure.
But
but you've got to be able to
discern that
within
yeah,
yourself.
Absolutely.
So that that belongs to you, not to somebody else.
Yes.
Because we're not our patterns. But until we really understand that, our patterns are likely in control of us instead of us in control of our patterns, right?
Right.
So, talking today on Strategies for Living about all God's children have patterns, that's fine. It's important for us to know what ours are. When we come back, we're going to talk about the avoider, the performer, the defender, and we're going to talk about the shift. How do we shift out of this? What is the answer? What is the door we can walk through so we don't have to continue to let our patterns run us? More today here on Strategies for Living. Be right back.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies for living radio.
Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living Radio. Patterns. Patterns are what we're talking about today. Yeah, all God's children got patterns. Do you know yours? Because it's important to understand that you've got them. And if you know them, now you're in control of them instead of them being in control of you.
Absolutely.
On this month and months that we celebrate freedom. Man, that's true freedom.
Absolutely.
That's true freedom. All right, so we're going through the most common patterns by far. These are not the only ones. There's an infinite number. But we've talked about the pleaser. We've talked about the controller. Then there's the avoider. And what does the avoider do, Lauren?
Well, you're going to procrastinate.
Postpone.
Yeah. Numb.
Yep.
Keep yourself busy to avoid something. Avoid difficult conversations.
If I'm an avoider, I'm going to try to shrink my world, and I might even try to shrink my world to the point that my entire world is not even my house, but the bedroom.
It's not there.
In my house.
It's not there.
Not
and
there.
If I don't look at it, if I don't deal with it, maybe it won't hurt.
Maybe it'll go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so at the base there, you're afraid of discomfort.
Yeah.
You're afraid of rejection and failure.
And I scratch my head and say, why doesn't anything ever change? Why does nothing ever change for me? That's the avoider.
Yeah.
Then there's the performer, and
I think this one's really common, right?
Well, yeah, I do, because we live in a performance world,
right?
A performance-based society.
Your worth is dependent upon what you produce, right? And what you bring into the world.
And so a performer is going to really believe that they earn love through achievement. But the problem is this can come crashing down on you.
Yes.
When whatever might happen in your life that you stop producing.
Well, at any point when you need rest, this becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Because the achiever, the performer, does not understand the value in rest and sees, well, if I do rest, I'm not producing, and therefore I'm not valuable, right?
Yeah.
That's the underlying belief.
Yeah.
I'm only valuable when I'm accomplishing or creating something.
And again, this one is so built into our structures. You know,
going back to our educational system.
It's
right?
built into our educational system. It's built into the way we teach our kids and instruct our kids. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's even built into our religions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, we again, I've said this before. Again, I don't want to get off into this today. We'll do this another day. But, the teaching is God created us in God's image and likeness. And yet,
we do it the other way around.
The God many of us believe in is a very human and very much a controller, an avoider, a pleaser, a performer, or a defender. We create God in our image instead of the other way around. And I in my conceptualization, in my imagination, how must God be laughing and shaking a head and as if God has a head.
Again, you're making a human.
Yeah, I'm making a human. We say, let's put it in God's hands. We're taught God is pure spirit, so God probably doesn't have hands.
Not literal.
Not
human
literal.
hands.
Yeah. So, again, this performance thing is pervasive throughout, all of society.
Well, and so
we certainly learned it in schools by... Did you get an A? Did you get a B?
Look at all the kids' sports team, right? This starts early on.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yes, absolutely. We play our sports. We play everything as a performer.
Right, and for something, to get something out of it.
Yep.
And so the healing for this one begins with learning that your worth is intrinsic to your being, not your doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want to offend anybody, but there's some people today that are asking a very good question of why do we still have wars? Why are wars in the world?
Makes money.
Well, okay, I hear you. I hear you, and you may be onto something.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is we bring them into our lives. Think about, you mentioned sports.
Yeah.
Think about when a little team or a big team, a pro team, we could go from little bitties on up to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
When you go onto the field, what's kind of the coach's attitude? This is war.
Yeah.
We got to out-strategize them. We've got, we've got to put them in the dirt.
Where's the fun of the game?
Exactly.
And getting better just by competing with each other for our own betterment.
And so we wonder then how that gets perpetuated. Well, maybe it's a pattern. All right, the last one we need to talk about is the defender. And the defender treats every interaction as if it were a threat and pushes away the very people that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then this comes from the idea that if I don't let people in, they can't hurt me. Right. So if I reject them first, I cannot be rejected.
Right.
Right. So there's that hidden fear.
At least that's what I tell myself. The truth is something different from that, but that's what I tell myself to perpetuate the common idea of being a defender.
And so this looks like putting up walls, right? Sarcasm can be this.
Yep.
Distrust.
Yep.
Or
anger.
Or like you said, interpreting any kind of interaction as a threat.
Now the question if you're getting the idea of what patterns are and how common they are, all God's children got them. All right, so how do I know mine? How do I know mine so I can make a shift? Here's the great news. The actual moment that you see the pattern, you're no longer inside of it. And it's very interesting that quantum physics today, quantum physics, science,
it's the observer effect,
is proving this. Yes. We've gotten to the point. And yet, there are some scientists that will look at quantum physics and say, well, that's not really science. That's hocus pocus. Okay. So, but it is science.
Yeah, sure.
And we know that there's a real thing called the observer effect. So the moment you see the pattern, you're no longer inside of it. You become the observer, and that's the exit. That's the exit door.
Yeah. I mean, mindfulness teaches us this too, right?
One of the reasons we invest in mindfulness and meditation and centered prayer. Yeah.
Because it teaches us that there are those two parts, so to speak, right? There's the one experiencing the thoughts and then the one noticing the thoughts.
Right.
And so healing can begin the moment you begin to see that.
If you've done it before, if you do it automatically, if you regret it a lot of times afterwards, if other people could predict, this is what she's going to do, this is what he's going to do, well, it might be a pattern. But patterns aren't who we are. They're what happened to you that you just, you're still in process. You still haven't finished processing it. And as long as you have life and breath, you can.
Absolutely.
All God's
Part
children.
of consciousness.
There you go. All God's children got patterns. Talking about it today here on Strategies for Living. And welcome back into Strategies for Living. Don't I do that every time? I mean, I play this music and it's my pattern.
You like your pattern of music. You do like.
Patterns can be comfortable.
They can,
Patterns
and they can be helpful.
And they can be helpful.
Right.
It's a good thing that people listening to the radio know, okay, well, I know the show must be over because he's playing that song. Well, patterns aren't always bad. But all God's children got them. All God's children got patterns. It's important that we know ours. Lauren, what's your takeaway from this discussion we've had today? And this, hopefully, some people found it thought-provoking.
Hopefully, yeah. Just the idea that patterns are learned ways of responding to life and what happens to and around you, right?
Yeah.
So it's the idea that anything learned can also be unlearned or
Absolutely.
relearned, right? And as we've talked several times throughout the show, freedom isn't the absence of these patterns,
Right.
but it's recognizing them early enough so that you can shift.
And the
you
learning and the
choose.
unlearning is important. I mean, I guess all of us could look back at things we got taught in school, and that as new theories came up and were tested and then proven,
Right.
things that we might have been taught back when, okay, well, that's not the way it is
As we
anymore.
learned more, that wasn't quite accurate and it didn't fit the picture of who we were becoming.
So we
Right.
need the ability to question.
And to be compassionate
And
with self in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we need to be compassionate, question, and be able to hypothesize and examine
That's it.
freely.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you. Thank you for being a part of Strategies, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing.
Oof, oof.
Got it right that time. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Muffy, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillian, I'm David McMillian. We'll see you next time right here on Strategies for Living.